Welcome to the Knives and Needles podcast. I'm Corina. You can find me at CoreyCat on Instagram or The Knitting Cat on Ravelry. I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York, where I live with my partner Brian and our cat Wash. I work as a line cook in Manhattan at a farm-to-table restaurant on the east side. I've been cooking for approximately 6 years now. I started off doing pastry for a little bit, and that just did not fit with how I like to do things. I love baking, it's not as a job. And after that, I worked at a small place in Brooklyn for a few months before eventually deciding that I would like to continue pursuing cooking as a career, and I went to culinary school. After culinary school, I worked at a large Japanese restaurant on the west side for about a year and a half before finally finding my way to my current job. This podcast will be about knitting, probably primarily about knitting and me talking about my knitting. I also want to try to fit some cooking into it, as well as hopefully being able to give you snippets of life in New York City, which is where I live and where I was born and where I have spent my entire life. That's that. And I hope you will enjoy watching this and stick around, or if you don't, then that's fine too. I'm going to definitely try to keep this very PG. I would say that in reality, I have quite the sailor's mouth, I guess you could say, or I tend to curse quite frequently. So I was thinking, and I was watching other podcasts, and I thought, well, I could obviously just go the route of Dunderknits and say, you know what, I'm gonna curse, deal with it. But I think that I want to try to keep it toned down. If for some reason I do actually start running my mouth, and I'll probably post, like, before this even starts, I'll probably post like a warning, foul language ahead, proceed at your own risk. So yes, I'm going to try to keep it PG. Or at least PG-13. So, hi, glad you're all here. And let's just jump right into the knitting, shall we? Foes, finished objects. I have two, both of which are projects that I procrastinated on way too much. They're not for me, they're for other people. So first up, I have just black basic hat. Pattern is the Boyfriend Hat by Pearl Soho. I used Karen X Pantone. It's not new, but it's fairly new. That I got from Michaels in the Raven colorway, which is just black. So if you're not familiar with Karen X Pantone, it's really cool. It's not like it's not the cheapest yarn, I would say, from Michaels. If I remember, it's like $7.99 or $8.99 you get, can't remember the exact yardage, but you get, it's 4 or 5, there's 5 little like mini skeins of like they call it chunky. I'd say it's probably an Aran. Yeah, Aran. I don't know if it's worsted. All the ends are tucked in here, so I want to say it's something like 127 yards total, so it's not I really like it. It's super soft. It is acrylic, but that's fine because you need it. You need acrylic. Sorry, yarn snobs out there, but you need acrylic for when you need to knit something for a baby or someone who's not familiar with yarn and nice yarn, and I like acrylic. So shoot me. Hat. So this is for as part of a trade with the weekend bouncer at the bar I go to most of the time after work. and I was supposed to have finished it around New Year's, but a lot of things happened around New Year's and I just didn't get it finished. I think I finished knitting it sometime in mid-January, right after I got my wisdom teeth removed, but I haven't had the chance to go to the laundromat and throw it in on a regular cycle and then throw it in the dryer, because that's probably how it'll be washed, and I just wanted to make sure that it would hold up well, and it did. It's fine. It's really nice. So I have to get this to him eventually, hopefully maybe this weekend. Second finished object is baby blanket. So again, this is Bernat Softy Chunky. I can't remember any of the colorway names. Tags are somewhere. It is the Chevron Baby Blanket by Espace Tricot. I don't speak French. That probably got butchered slightly. So this is then for a coworker who bought the yarn for me or gave me money to buy the yarn, and then I knit this blanket, and I'm going to get that to her. Now luckily with this one, I said don't expect it anytime soon. Admittedly, that was back in September of last year. So it's definitely holding up my word of don't expect it anytime soon. The ends are not woven in on this yet, but I will get to it before I give it to her. I should try to do that today actually and give it to her tomorrow. That is the last of the, those are the finished objects. Next, we're going to do the works in progress. So I have, like a lot of people I'm sure, have a lot of like projects that have been on my needles for a long time that rarely see the light of day, that I've just sort of stopped working on, and I really want to try to fix that and work on these projects, get them finished, stop having them take up space in my project bags or things like that. So I'd like to say that I'm going to sort of have a segment that's languishing works in progress, so languishing WIPs, and I'm going to just focus on one work in progress and try to carve time out once a week to actually sit down and work on them, even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I feel like my knitting time is drastically decreased recently, and I haven't been getting as much time to knit at home or just in general, because there's a lot of other things that I'm trying to take care of. So most of my knitting these days happens either on a day off or on the subway, and even then I've been trying to also read more, so I spend one direction of my commute knitting and then the other direction of my commute reading, so that's again even less time to knit, as well as instead of just coming home and knitting, there are times when I have to come home and try to study for Japanese or any number of things that need to be done rather than knitting, and they're important things, it's just I don't have as much time. So I'm thinking that once a week for trying to like get a few rows done on these projects, and maybe I'll finish one in 2 months I'll finish one. That would be really awesome. But until then, I will hopefully try to use this podcast to try to keep me accountable and making sure I'm working on them. Anyway, the first one I want to focus on is my Hemlock ring blanket, which is by Jared Flood, and it's an adaptation or my heavily modified vintage doily pattern that he took and he modified into being a blanket or a shawl pattern. So that's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's the Hemlock ring blanket by Jared Flood. I'm really enjoying it. I think it was supposed to be for like a heavier yarn than I'm using something that's like a sport it's probably more closer to a sport. It's woolen spun, so it's like I think it's woolen spun. I don't know. It's definitely a more woolly yarn, not as smooth, very rustic. And it's definitely thinner than what his modified calls for. So I'm hoping it'll become like a lap blanket. I have a decent amount of yarn left over still to go through. So I'm using Green Mountain Spinnery, alpaca Elegance, which is 50% alpaca and 50% wool. And the colorway is Ceylon, 7364. My colors are all not so great today because the lighting in here is not as good as it has been. But it's just like a nice deep dark sort of, there's some tweedy bits in here, but it's a nice deep blue. And then the other yarn, the main yarn, is from Old Sturbridge Village, where my siblings have done junior internships over the years, and part of that is they dye yarn to basically showcase how the people who lived there might have dyed yarn back when they were actually living there, which was, I want to say, I think it was before the Civil War, but I could be wrong, it's been a while. So this purple was a gift for my birthday one year, and then these little bits were from when I would go visit while they were doing it, and they'd have like little arts and craftsy stuff. And then this dark green here is more Alpaca Elegance, and I want to say this has been on the needles for about 2 years now, and I have not picked it up to actually knit on it in at least a year. So definitely deserves some time and deserves a finish. The one thing is that the main color yarn, I believe, is cochineal, and it bleeds. So I work with it, and all of a sudden I come away and I have bright red hands, which is fine. It's just gonna mean that it's probably gonna bleed onto the lighter greens when I wash it and give it a nice soak. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. So I'm fully expecting that to happen at some point, which I'm okay with. I just at this point want to get it off my needles, as one does. Next up, we're going to talk about my worsted boxy. So this is worsted boxy by Hohi Locatelli, and I'm using Miss Bab's Yowza that I got from New York Sheep and Wool Festival, Rhinebeck, up in the Hudson Valley this past year, actually. The colorway is Moonlight Stroll, and I am alternating my skeins. So I've been wanting to make a sweater out of Miss Bab's Yowza for a really long time, but recently I've been trying to sort of transition my wardrobe into something that I really enjoy wearing, especially when it comes to knitting. So I've been trying to start knitting things, or garments at least, that I feel very comfortable wearing. Like, it's just like putting on a regular like piece of clothing. I tend to gravitate towards more dark colors, leggings, jeans, and like weird band t-shirts or nerdy t-shirts, like the Firefly one I'm wearing today. So I love seeing all the indie dyed bright colored yarns, and I do like gravitate towards them, but for a lot of the time it's just not something I wear. Sock yarn different, because socks anything goes, so I have a whole bunch of super bright rainbow sock yarn that I'm really excited to knit with and make socks with. But other than that, I don't really, like, I'll have pops of color other places, but I think that's one of the things I love about brioche so much, is that you can have this super bright color, but then you can have it be the contrast color to black, and you still get a pop of color, but it's more subdued. Anyway, so worsted boxy. I'm almost finished. This is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about that, especially once it's washed. And I mean, I'm probably going to try to stretch it down instead of wide, but yeah, I've gone too far to rip it out. So I'm just going to have to wait and see. Yes, really happy. Yowza is so soft. Would knit with it again. and the pattern is super easy. When I cast it on, I really needed something that was just mindlessly knitting and stockinette. And I actually did this. I didn't do the 2 bodies because why would I seam something together? I knit it in the round. The pattern has instructions for a seamless version, which I think is really amazing. And I probably would not have knitted if it didn't have that. So, and then that's currently living in my KnitSpinQuilt kitty cat bag. This, I want to say, is her large drawstring bag, and I love it. I definitely need to get another bag from her at some point in time. I think I want to get one of the zipper ones. She does like the nice little box bags, and I just like the design on those. I think they're so cute. So yes, that's from KnitSpinQuilt. Though I think she's actually, her shop is on sabbatical right now. So I think she'll be reopening in a few months, which is fine. If you're local to New York City, and you want a bag, I want to say it's Woolyn on Atlantic Avenue, and maybe also String Things Studio have actual stock of her bags, I think. Don't take my word for that. And so next is my brioche, my mindless knitting, so to speak. This I just sort of started because I needed something with not sharp pointy needles that also I didn't have to think about when I went to when Brian and I went to see Disturbed about late February. And so I just scrounged around my stash, pulled out a ball of, so the light turquoise is a worsted from Verdant Gryphon. I cannot remember the name for the life of me. Tag is long gone, but it's their Zaftig base, though I guess that doesn't matter unless you're looking for Ravelry stash. Though I think I got an email from them over the holidays that said they came back and they were dying yarn, but I wasn't in any colors I really wanted to snap up. So I guess they're on and off again. But I love Verdant Gryphon. I'm so lucky I have a decent amount of them in my stash, but now it's like, I don't want to use it because I don't know when I'll be able to get more again and all of that jazz. So, and then the contrasting color is that I have a tag for. Diamond Luxury Collection Fine Merino Superwash DK. And this color is simply 1660. This is from my first ever fiber share partner. And it's so soft. It really is amazingly soft, and I'm loving the way it's working up with the heavier worsted. It's going to be such a great cowl when I'm finished. But it'll probably take me a little bit to finish it because this is definitely now sort of if I really just need TV knitting, if I run out of a project, or I was also most recently working on it on Sunday for D&D night. So that was, yeah, that's really awesome. And then this project bag was a gift from a dear Ravelry friend of mine with yarn and thread, and they're spoons. They're spoons. And I love it so much. I'll move that because the camera's trying to focus down here and not up here, which I guess isn't so bad, but it's probably a little weird to like watch an out of focus face talk. Next work in progress, and I think my last work in progress, was there another one? No, that was it. My last one is my Reine socks. This is technically a hoe, half finished object. Brian's over here giving me weird looks because I just said hoe on camera. Half object. Great acronym, right? My Reine socks by Kemper of Junkyarns, and I'm using the sock kit that she dyed specifically for this pattern, and I finally have my little information sheet here. And so she did, this was, I think, the Warriors and Heroines, yeah, Warriors and Heroines, and then color scheme, and then the other one she did I think was called Queens and Consorts. but I chose this one just because the color spoke to me more. So we have the first color is Nakano Takeko, and the second color is Bodeka. The second colorway is Patepsha. Oh, Patchepsut. I think I butchered that pronunciation. Very well. And then the fourth one is for Lozen. Fifth is Katerina Savorza. And then the last colorway is Joan of Arc. I hope you saw those. I was not looking. I didn't realize I was holding the sock up here and then here. All right, so we're going to do that again. First one, Nakano Takeko. Second color, Bodeka. Third color, Hatshepsut. Fourth color, Lozen. Fifth color, Katerina Sforza. Sixth color, Joan of Arc. That's done. So I have one sock and the cuff. And these are my Subway socks, which sometimes gets very annoying because in this bag I have all of the little tiny balls. So many little tiny balls of yarn, guys. It's necessary but frustrating. But I can't wait till I finish these. I originally cast them on during the knit along that she did for them, and I realized that I made a huge mistake in the slip stitch texture pattern and got really frustrated and ripped out. I'd almost knit an entire sock, ripped it out, and then it took me another 3 months to pick it back up again. I'm very happy I did, and I'm really excited for those to be finished. And then this bag is one of my, I love this bag so much. This came from my fiber share partner. I think it was it the last round or the round before that? I can't remember if I did 2 rounds or 3 rounds last year. I think I only did 2 rounds last year. But yes, this was from my fiber share partner. And it just, like, this bag is me. It has a little clippy thingy, so even I can use it as a little purse if I want to, or sometimes I'll clip it to the handle of my tote bag when I need more room in my tote if I'm not going to work and not carrying a backpack. But it's so cute. The little front pockets are adorable. I love it. I've actually been really lucky, and both my fiber shares last year made me bags with cats on them, which was so sweet. And yeah, just all of my partners I've had are really amazing. So thank you guys if you're watching. You know who you are. I would love to give shout outs, but I don't know if you guys want that much. Not like anyone's really watching this, but just in case. So that's the last work in progress. So moving on from works in progress to, I want to talk about a project that I'm super excited to start, and that is going to, hi Wash. He didn't come past the camera, but he jumped up with a toy and then jumped down off the couch again. But it's going to be the Frost Tunic from Knits About Winter by Emily Foden. And so it'll be my first project knitting with mohair, actually, I think ever. Yeah, ever. Somehow I've avoided the mohair until now, but I'm falling for the trend. I think it's awesome, and it's just so soft. The mohair silk blends are amazing. So, Frost Tunic by Emily Foden from Knits About Winter. I am going to be using Farmer's Daughter Fibers in her Mighty Mo base, which is 70% kid mohair and 30% silk. And I just want to do this all day. Rub my face in it all day. It's so soft. So the main color is going to be Winter Wolf. And my contrasting color, which I really cannot remember the name of right now. I think it was, I can't remember. All I remember is that I spent the entirety of Vogue Knitting Live in Times Square in New York in January trying to find the perfect yarn for this. I'd already been thinking that I wanted to use Farmer's Daughter fibers for this, but when I got to, they were at the Brooklyn General Store booth at Vogue this year, and when I got there, the color that I had been thinking of originally, I think for the main color, the dye lot was so different from what I had been thinking it was, or what I had seen on their website, that it just didn't click for me. So I then spent the rest of the, I wanted to say con, but it's not quite. I guess it is a knitting convention, basically. So, nerd. Looking for the perfect colors of mohair, and I just didn't click. So I admitted defeat, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sit on it. Who knows? Maybe next time I'm in a store, I'll find yarn that's that perfect. So fast forward to a few weeks later, and I was, you know, going down to Brooklyn General, and they stock this. So, and then I was looking around, and I was looking at, I think it was, oh gosh, what's the name of that yarn company? I can't remember, but I was flip-flopping between Farmer's Daughters and another company, or another dyer, and maybe was going to do one-on-one, and then I had multiple skeins of yarn in different colors just laid out across one of their tables, and was texting pictures to my mom about what color should I use, help me pick, what do you think, and then I think I fell in love with the Winter Wolf because it's just such a lovely, like, nice gray. It's going to go with so much. And then I lucked out, and I was going through the shelves, like pulling all the mohair out, in one skein of the color I had originally wanted. And because everything else they had was left over from the batch from Vogue. So I found it. And so I'm so excited to cast that on. Probably not till after I finish my worsted boxy, because too many projects at once just kind of overwhelms me, especially when I have very limited time to knit. Alright, I rambled about that project for way too long. Next up, I have a little bit of stash enhancement, but honestly, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of stash enhancement for the near future. I'm simply just having to enter a very, very strict stash down period. I have too much yarn. That's plain and simple. I mean, yes, everyone can say, oh, never too much, but I actually don't. I organized my closet the other day and realized that in the last year, I accumulated 3 bags of yarn that don't fit into my 6 plastic storage containers that hold my existing stash. So I need to seriously get knitting. Also, like budget stuff and needing to spend money on things that are not yarn would be nice. Instead of just being like yarn, 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 yarn. No, there are other things that I definitely want to get, like shelves for my kitchen. The cat needs to go for a checkup and to get shots renewed, I think. I think he's due for a rabies booster or something. Probably. So there's all that. But I'm sure there'll always be times where I'm like, well, it's on sale, let me just get it. And one of those instances was Sweet Sparrow Knits had mystery skein It's listed in her shop a few weeks ago, and I got 2 mohairs because mohair is something that's lacking from my stash right now. And then I also got a DK because DK is also lacking from my stash. I mostly have sock yarn. Fingering sock yarn is the majority of my stash, and I really want to change that. So, to preface this, I think I mentioned prior that I tend to gravitate towards darker colors, and when I placed this order, I was so excited because I think I only have 1 skein of her self-striping yarn and then 2 skeins of like random dyes, maybe on an older base that she was destashing last year. And they're all beautiful, but I sort of forgot to mention that I'm not really into pastel and not really into pink. I was like, I don't want to be an annoying customer and be like, oh, but I don't want pink, and so I didn't say anything, thinking, well, the chances of me actually getting pink are fairly low. No. They're actually really beautiful, and I'm kind of happy I got them because neither of the colors are things that I would ever buy myself. I would say, oh, that's so pretty. I might think of it for my mom or someone else, but never for myself. So the DK is this beautiful pale pink with these really amazing speckles of blue and purple, and there's some yellow and pink, and it's just, let's see if I can get this to focus. It's beautiful. I don't know what it'll be, if it'll be something for myself or if it's just something I knit with and then give the product to somebody, like a friend or family member. And then the mohair is also beautiful. It's a very pale pink. There's some just cream, almost like, I'd say almost like the color you get when you dye with tea. And then this beautiful, like darker blue in there as well. So because of that blue, this is definitely going to be something for myself. I'm thinking I have a bunch of Knit Picks Capretta in a kind of, it's like a heathered navy. And I think that'll go really nicely with this for a sweater or something. So that's really exciting. Then the other rabbit hole purchase, I'd say, is I caved and I remember seeing it this last year. And Valkyrie Fibers is an amazing indie dyer, and she does a lot. I love her because she does a lot of nerdy themed yarns. So I love her Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth inspired colorways. She does amazing self-striping colorways. For that, as well as like tonals and variegated semi-solids. Just beautiful, beautiful dyer. I'm gushing right now. I think I found my new favorite indie dyer, maybe. Don't tell anyone else I said that. But so she does a supernatural themed sock yarn club. And this is, I think, the 3rd year now. And in case you don't know Supernatural, it's a show, I don't know what network it's on because I watched it on Netflix since we don't have cable. And it's basically 2 dudes, Dean and Sam Winchester, and they fight like demons and stuff. It gets a lot. It's been going on, I think it's in like season 14 or 13 right now, and so it's been going on for a while, so it gets a little more over the top every year, I'd say. But anyway, so this year's theme was villains. The first month is based on Crowley, who is the demon king of hell. And so extras, we'll do the extras first. This really, really cute, I don't know if it'll focus, yes, pentacle, pentagram. I want to say it's a pentacle for my witchy side because it's right side up and all that, you know, pentacle. Progress keeper. I don't think I can get it to focus very well. These 2 pins. Pins. Oof, that's super washed out. Crowley sticker. Look at that little dude. And then the yarn. The skein of self-striping, which is really beautiful, like this black, blood red, nice. It's like a medium brown, probably close to the color of my eyes. And I'm super excited to knit with this. And that is called Hello Boys, and it is her matte sock, which is a 4-ply, 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, and it's 463 yards to 100 gram skein, so great yardage on this one. And then the contrasting mini skein is the same base matte sock, and that is 93 yards to 20 grams. And the colorway on this one is "You'll have something fancy with your tiniest umbrella," which is a quote from one of the episodes that's absolutely funny. And yeah, so I will be getting 2 more shipments from this. So that'll be some actual stash enhancement happening, and I'm really excited about that. But that's probably my last like yarn purchase, or it should be my last yarn purchase for a few months. Yes, that's what he says about that, if you heard that. He's probably right, though.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, and I think that's it. That's it. I've done everything. I've rambled for a long time, and I've talked about almost everything. So, if you're still here, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate it. I guess a little bit notey stuff. I probably will not have a regular schedule like some people have for uploading podcasts. My work schedule changes on an almost weekly basis, and so my days where I have time to record and edit and figure everything out and futz around on the computer, yeah, it's just, they change all the time. So that being said, I'm thinking of trying to do it every other week if that's possible. We'll see how it goes, especially as things start to pick up, as hopefully the weather gets warmer and spring shows up, because I need some spring. I will be getting a Ravelry group up and going for everyone, and that's probably where I'll be posting show notes and other things, like all of that information will go to the Ravelry group. And I was thinking maybe, since I'm terrible at talking about myself, that for the next time I record, or maybe the time after that, I'll start a AMA Ask Me Anything thread in the Ravelry group, and then you guys can ask me questions if you want, and I'll answer them. So we'll see. That might be cool. What else? I think that's all. Oh, for Instagram, I don't think I'm going to do a separate podcast Instagram, just because having to switch in between accounts is probably not going to work for me. So it'll be my normal, regular Instagram, Corey Cat, which I'm on almost all the time. I do Instagram way more than Facebook or any other social media. Ravelry would be the exception, but even then I'm on Instagram way more than I'm on Ravelry. And so, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, tell your friends, or don't. But yeah. Till next time. Thanks, guys.